podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show aired originally on the Premier Networks on Sunday, November 3rd, 2019. Thank you, Rich DeMuro, for filling in for me. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, here's episode 1641. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Epson's EcoTank printers. This holiday, kiss expensive cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. And by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi is enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and up to 6 times faster, with no hidden fees for egress or API requests. Calculate your savings and try Wasabi with free unlimited storage for a month at wasabi.com. Code TWIT. And by Ring Central. With Ring Central, you'll get everything you need in one place for your business communication needs. With all-in-one cloud, phone, video conferencing, and team messaging, staying connected has never been easier. Save with their holiday bundle offer. Don't pay until 2020 when you go to ringcentral.com/techguy.
What's going on? I'm Rich DeMuro, and this is The Tech Guy, the show where we talk about technology and answer the questions that you have about your gadgets, your smartphones, your computers, your smart home devices, your smartwatches, and anything else that might be smart. Welcome to the show. I'm Rich DeMuro, tech reporter at KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles, filling in for Leo Laporte today. I'm also the author of a book, 101 iPhone Tips and Tricks, available on Amazon right now. Look for the one with the black and blue cover that is fully updated for iOS 13. Well, it is the day that all of the clocks changed, and I had a little moment before I went to sleep last night of wondering if all things would work out, because I had my phone, which I assumed would change the time, and I had a standard analog alarm clock, and I wondered what to do, because daylight saving time seems simple for most people, but for me, I don't know why. I just can't seem to grasp what happens during this changeover. So I was looking online, I searched Google, I said time change, what to do. And I wanted to know if I set my clocks 1 hour before, 1 hour back, and everything said just fall back. And I didn't really understand what that meant. And so I was like, do I change my clocks an hour ahead? Do I go back? And I get it. For the average person who's listening, you probably figure out, you're like, Rich, are you crazy? Come on, everyone knows you subtract an hour or you add an hour. For me, these things don't come that easily because I rely on my electronics. And next thing you know, I'm sitting there trying to set my alarm and I just didn't know what to do. And I figured, you know what, no matter what, I will wake up in time. And by the way, most days it wouldn't matter, most Sundays, but because I was doing this show, I wanted to make sure I was on time. And so most days it wouldn't matter, but I figured, you know what, no matter what time I wake up, I'm going to be just fine. And I did wake up, all the clocks changed, even the analog clock in the hotel room changed, which I thought was pretty impressive. So it must have been on it must know the date as well. But everything is fine. I hope you're dealing with that. We were changing all the clocks in the studios here. And it's funny because back in the day, you'd go around your house and there'd be so many clocks to change. And these days, when the changeover happens, I think I have to change exactly one clock in my house, and that is on the stove. Everything else is smart. Everything else kind of adjusts. I do have one analog clock that I do have to spin around. But remember back in the day when you'd have to change everything? It would take, half an hour to go around the whole house to change everything. And so I thought this was kind of an interesting article. In Minnesota, 3M, 3M, right? Well, they have an interesting way of dealing with the time change. For decades, according to this, it's basically their version of NPR out there, public radio. They have a crew of 24 people that would go out all across this campus, 409 acres, working in 12-hour shifts for 2 weekends a year to change all the clocks. And they would put in new batteries as well. They have over 1,000 clocks on the campus, right? And twice a year they have to be adjusted. Well, this year they decided, you know what? We're done adjusting them. We're just going to take them all down. And so 5 months ago, they started taking all the clocks down at the 3M headquarters in Minneapolis or Minnesota. And next thing you know, no one said anything. No one cared because guess what? Everyone's using their smartphone now. And so they did keep the clocks in 2 places. They kept them in a few laboratories and the fitness areas. But by the way, the cost of the clocks every year cost them about $35,000 to maintain them and to change all this stuff. They also said that it takes bucketfuls of batteries to keep them ticking. And also resetting them and other maintenance requires trips up and down ladders, which also risk injury. Well, they said there was a certain charm to glancing at the clock instead of looking at your smart device, but the reality is most people are just looking at their phones. That's what's happening. All right, that's all done. We're going to get past that today. I know it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but the thing that I'm adjusting to as well is the influx of streaming services. And this week we got an announcement of a new one, HBO Max. Have you heard of this one? So all these different streaming services, HBO Max is now going to join the fray in May of 2020. HBO Max is going to be available for $15 a month. And I'm thinking to myself, am I ready for another streaming service? But here's the thing. HBO Max actually sounds pretty good. HBO is owned by AT&T now, which is Warner Media, and it's going to launch with 10,000 hours of premium content. So let me just go down the library here. Warner Brothers, New Line, DC, CNN, TNT, TBS, True TV, Turner Classic Movies, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Crunchyroll, Rooster Teeth, Looney Tunes, and more. And not only are they going to have all those back catalogs, they're also doing a whole bunch of originals as well. So they've got Tuned Out, which is a new Robert Zemeckis half-hour hybrid live-action animated comedy. They've got Looney Tunes cartoons. They've got Jellystone, which is a new animation featuring Hanna-Barbera characters. Let's see. They've got a whole bunch of new stuff. House of Dragon, a 10-episode straight-to-series order Game of Thrones prequel. South Park, Rick and Morty, The OC, Looney Tunes. Oh my gosh, so many things. 1,800 films, including The Matrix, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Aquaman, Joker, every Batman and Superman movie from the last 40 years. So $15 a month will get you this new HBO Max. And a lot of people are going to get it included. So a lot of people will get this if they have some sort of AT&T subscription, whether it's a wireless subscription or something else. And I'll be honest, at this point, I'm getting a little subscription fatigue like everyone else. And here's the tough part about subscriptions. They're cheap enough where when you see that bill every month, you say to yourself, okay, fine, Netflix is $16 a month, right? I can deal with that. I've got AT&T Now, which is AT&T TV Now, I think it's called. That's $50 a month. And that's including every channel ever. And so every month I look at that and I say, do I really want to pay $50 a month for all these channels I'm not watching? But it's cheap enough where if I do want to watch something, it comes in handy. If I want to watch a game or if I want to, tune into a sports game, I get ESPN. But when you add them all up, I mean, I've got Netflix, there's Hulu, Disney Plus is coming along in a couple of weeks, and I'm probably going to subscribe to that for the kids. Sling TV, Amazon Prime Video, Fubo TV, Philo, YouTube TV. Now, I don't subscribe to all these, but they are available. PlayStation View, that's going away next year. Stars, Showtime, Cinemax, all these things that you used to pay one bill and get included on your cable bill are now all parsed out. And they're parsed out in a way where $5 a month, okay, I mean, it's cheap enough where, you can afford the $5 a month, but month after month after month, they just keep going. And it's one of these things where it's just too tough to get rid of because you just don't feel like it. And for me, I feel like that's the situation I'm in. By the way, that doesn't include all the music streaming services you can get: Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. There's even a paid podcasting subscription, something called Luminary, $8 a month to pay for podcasts. I mean, it's getting to the point where I've always said that when you cut the cord, it wasn't necessarily to save money because these media companies are very smart and they're not going to just let you get away from them without paying anything because you still want to get that content. They're just going to figure out new ways of getting you that content at a different price. But Apple TV Plus, we talked about that a little bit, and that just launched this week, and I've been binging on that morning show. And that's $5 a month, but I get that for free for a year. So I don't have to make any decisions with that streaming service for a full year, which I kind of like. You are listening to the Tech Guy Radio Show. We're going to have your questions up next. Give me a call at 8888-ASK-LEO. 8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. Phone lines are open. We'll talk to you next. We're back. Welcome to the Tech Guy Radio Show. I'm Rich DeMuro, filling in for Leo Laporte, who, yes, is on vacation. We had a little technical difficulty at the beginning of the show. Chalk it up to the time change, but we are back and firing on all cylinders this morning. So welcome to the show. We're taking your calls about technology, whatever you want to talk about when it comes to your smart watch, your smartphone, your gadgets, your smart home. 8888-ASK-LEO, 888-827-5536. I'm Rich DeMuro, the tech reporter at KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles, filling in for Leo today. And I'm also the author of a book, 101 iPhone Tips and Tricks, on Amazon right now if you need some help with the new iOS 13. Now let's welcome Kim Schaffer to the show. Kim, welcome to the show, our call screener extraordinaire.
Even the tech guy suffers a tech meltdown every once in a while.
You know, people love when that happens, by the way. I mean, people watch live things because they know there's the chance that something could go wrong. I mean, come on. Yep. That's what you watch live for.
Hey,
right?
It adds character.
I mean, if something's pre-recorded, it's totally different. You know that it's going to be fine. Yeah. But if it's live, that's why you tune in. So that's the excitement of live, and that's why I love live TV, which is how I make my living on a normal day. People watch because they want to see what happens.
They want to see you stumble over the microphone.
Exactly. Yeah. How are you doing today, Kim?
Good. How about you?
I am fantastic.
Enjoy that extra hour of sleep?
You know, I'm so confused, and I wake up so early in most days that I don't even know. I think I got some extra sleep though.
All right.
It's all good.
Well, how about we go to Manny, who's actually vacationing in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and he's trying to access his home internet connection to hook up his Roku stick at the hotel room.
All right. We got to get some clarification from Manny on this one. I got to see what's going on here. But I do want to be where he is.
Yeah, me too.
Manny, you're on with Rich and the tech guy.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling in this morning.
Sure. Basically, my setup, I have a Amplify mesh network at my house, and it allows me to connect into the system with a new teleport app. So it thinks my phone is at home on my Wi-Fi. So I want to connect the hotel TV to my phone, but I can't do that directly with the Roku because it's got to go through the hotel Wi-Fi. So there's products out there that are like travel Wi-Fi hotspots, but I don't have an Ethernet connection. So I'm trying to pair the router to my phone and then be able to send the signal from the router to the TV.
Is this so you can watch something that is not available in where you are right now?
Well, I can certain TV shows I can watch, but Xfinity has an app that allows me to kind of view anything as if I was home.
Right. And you're trying to get that in Rio, and it's not letting you because it's saying, hey, you're not in your home and you're not in the U.S., so we can't serve you up this content. That sounds like what's happening. I mean, it's tough because it's interesting because your phone sort of acts as a VPN to your home network. I guess your home network gives you kind of a VPN for your network that, connects. But then you're trying to get your device to connect to your phone through the internet, but you need to route it through there, which would be a Wi-Fi hotspot, but you can't really do that when you've got the VPN going on. That's what I'm understanding, right?
Well, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, they have these Wi-Fi. I'm just trying to make sure that the product I'm buying or recommendations, the router, the travel router, is able to connect to the phone and then rebroadcast that signal out into the room. And then I'd be able to, the Roku will look for a any Wi-Fi, and then I can tell, do this.
Yeah, I mean that should work. I mean, so you're talking about a travel, like a little tiny Wi-Fi router. This is funny. I haven't had this issue in a long time, but I did want to use one of those when I was in Japan once, because back in the day the Wi-Fi there was just not as good, like in the hotel rooms, and now it's gotten better. But I was thinking that these little things you hook up to your phone to create a Wi-Fi hotspot would work, and they are pretty popular over there. I think that would work as long as you can get it connected to your phone and it actually puts out a good enough signal to connect to the Roku. But I think it's not going to be the simplest thing, and I think that it may not work all the time. That's my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any recommendations on any particular brand?
I don't have a recommendation. A lot of times it's just kind of little off brands that you find on Amazon. I would just look on there.
Okay.
And it's usually they want to connect it to an Ethernet port. So you're going to have to figure out how to connect it to your phone and actually get it to tap into that signal. It's something that is just not many people have a use for anymore, because Wi-Fi has become so prolific, and so I think it's going to be a little bit tricky to get this set up. What do you need to watch so bad when you're on vacation? Because I would just go to the beach in Rio.
Well, I'm actually here for business, so I'm working down here. So
okay, so it's more of a long-term kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would just look at one of those little things and see. And the other way you can go is you might just be able to get some sort of VPN that works with your phone's Wi-Fi and just connect to your phone Wi-Fi and see if you can do that. And then maybe that'll work as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, Manny. Good luck down there.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Yeah, lots of interesting. It's interesting when people. So back in the day, there was something called Slingbox, and so you could easily access all of your content anywhere, basically, that you had a connection. So I remember I was in Japan one time and I was watching a game, a USC game that was broadcast through my television at home, and I'm in Japan watching this game through Slingbox, and I just thought that was the coolest thing that technology could ever give me. And nowadays, it's gotten so much easier because there's just so many things that let you access your content that, and everything has become on demand. And with on demand, the reason why these companies like it is because it gives them more control over their content. So when you watch something on demand, they have the right to say, you know what, you're not in the right region. We don't really allow this in that region, or we're not licensed in that region, so we're just not going to let you stream it. And so what happens is a lot of people try to use VPNs to get around those restrictions. And this is why you see so many VPNs advertised online. It's not necessarily for people trying to protect their privacy. A lot of times people are using those VPNs to get around these restrictions. And it's kind of a gray area. But if you think if it's your content and you've got it and you want to watch it wherever you are, I get it. You're going to try to figure out a way to do that. So you're listening to The Tech Guy. Rich DeMuro in today for Leo Laporte. We've got more of your calls after this at 8888 Ask Leo. Plus, we've got our photo guy, our car guy, and lots more to talk about here on The Tech Guy. Sam, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you
Hello.
perfectly.
How are you today?
I'm good. Rich DeMuro in for Leo today, obviously. We talked once before, right?
Yeah, back in the spring during Leo's last vacation, you filled in one weekend when I was on.
Gotcha. Sam Abuelsamid, right?
Yep.
Car guy. And what are we talking today? Does it matter, or do you want me to just surprise me, or what?
Yeah, I want to talk about over-the-air updates for cars. Ford just announced their new next-generation infotainment system this week. It goes into production next year, and it's going to support over-the-air updates, and it's something that more and more automakers are starting to implement.
I think he wants to talk about the Parlo tones.
Talk about what?
Oh, you've got
Oh,
John noticed your radio behind you.
That's a screenshot from the new Sync 4 system that Ford provided.
Nice. Yeah, I was just looking on my car to see, because my CarPlay only connects about half the time, like when I first plug it in. And so I was looking on my car. I was like, there's got to be a way to do an over-the-air update. And sure enough, no way. There's nothing.
Have you tried swapping out the cable? I've had a lot of problems with various cables in cars, and sometimes they don't connect. You don't get a connection, or it'll drop off. And you'll lose the connection to the phone partway through. And this is also one of the other things that car makers are finally starting to do is move towards wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, so that you don't actually have to plug it in.
See, I get that, but I don't, because when I'm in my car, I want to charge it, and I have one of those wireless Qi things, but it doesn't charge fast enough.
Doing. Yeah, well, that's the other thing they're doing is they're putting Qi chargers in the cars and putting higher powered Qi chargers in.
So they're getting
10-watt Qi chargers.
Okay, that's good.
And so you can just drop your phone on the charging pad, and it once you've paired it the first time, then you don't have to plug it in again.
Right, but I'm still not convinced. I like the satisfaction of plugging it in, knowing it's good. But I can see the benefit, because you don't have to worry about plugging it in, and then you just have to worry about making sure it's aligned on that charging pad just right, which most of the time
that is also a challenge. So clearly anytime wired is always generally going to be better than wireless, but then you get problems with cables.
Right.
Cables, you get twisted around the connections, you get loose wire strands in there, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, we had a woman calling yesterday, and her phone wasn't charging in the car. And I said, well, have you tried a different cable? And she said, yeah. I'm like, does that work? She goes, yeah. I'm like, that's a problem. Because in the car, you're moving around that cable so much more than at home. You're twisting it. Your phone is moving all over the place. So I think that's the issue.
You put your phone in a cup holder or, in a little pocket somewhere. And, it's more likely to get twisted than it is when it's at home.
Yeah, my wife's car, I don't know what she does, but hers, I've got to replace it every 6 months. She twists it so much. I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, that's kind of the deal there. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. Rich DeMuro in for Leo Laporte today. You can find me on Instagram at RichOnTech. Post a lot of fun stuff there. Joining me now, Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy, to talk about one of my favorite topics, cars. Well, I'm not a car guy, Sam, but I like tech in the car.
Well, you're in California, so you kind of, I think, isn't that kind of like a requirement to be a resident of California, to be a car person?
You know what? Okay,
so
at
least be obsessed with cars.
Full disclosure, I bought my car a couple years ago. I was on the job the other day, and a photographer rolls up and he looks at my car. He goes, "Oh, is that a rental?" I said, "No, that's my car." And I said, I said, you must be a car guy. He said, "Oh yeah, he's one of those guys that his car's always polished and perfect." And I just laughed to myself, because to me, my car is good if it's just the less I pay for it, the better. As long as it works and it's good, I'm fine with that.
And there are certain cars that you tend to find much more in rental fleets than others. Especially the base models, that don't have any options on them. Those are the ones you usually find in the rental fleets.
Yeah. Now mine's not base option. I do have a sunroof, but power windows. But it is one of those cars that you would walk past in the rental car lot and be like, I don't want that one. So how are you doing today? Did you survive the time apocalypse?
I did. Sadly, my dog does not seem to be aware of the time change, and so she was up at the same time that she usually gets up, even though the clock was a different hour. So, she got me up plenty early this morning. But
nice. Well, what's on your mind today? What have you been seeing lately?
So this week, Ford made an announcement about their next generation infotainment system, which they call Sync 4. Sync is the system that Ford's been using. They initially unveiled it in 2007 at CES. And so this is their fourth generation of that. And it's got some interesting new features in it. Most important of which is they've added in the ability to do over-the-air software updates for the car. And this is something that the Tesla, actually, they were the first ones to do this back in 2012 when they launched the Model S. And every Tesla since then has had over-the-air software updates. And it's a feature that Tesla owners really love, because you can get new features. You'll wake up one morning and get an update in your car that all of a sudden you can play Asteroids in your car, or have a Ford app on your center screen.
YouTube and Netflix they just added, which by the way you can't use when you're driving. Just to be clear,
right?
But this seems like a given.
Car does have to be in park for that.
Doesn't it seem like a given that everything in our lives have software updates over the air? Even like the smart speakers, your phone, and it just seems like your car would have that. Now I see the other side of this is that a car, once it's manufactured and done with the technology, it's kind of like there's a lot of moving parts that you may not think about. Like your system has to control your heating, your air conditioning, all this other stuff that center console has to do. So just doing an update is probably not as simple as it is on your phone, is it?
No, yeah, and the electronic system, the electrical system in your car is very complex. I mean, a typical car, modern cars today have anywhere from 70 to 100 computers embedded in that car, all of which have, can potentially be reflashed. And in fact, in some cases, it's well over 100 now on some high-end cars. And today, if there's a software bug that the manufacturer needs to fix, you have to take the car in to the dealer, and then they plug into the OBD2 connector in the car, and they reflash it, through the network in the car. So there's a network in your car, a local area network, that uses a system called CAN, controller area network. What they're doing now is, as they redesign the cars, they're shifting towards putting Ethernet in your car.
Oh, wow.
In addition to these other systems, and in order to one of the things you want to do if you're going to reflash any of the computers in your car, you want to make sure that it gets reprogrammed correctly. You don't, first of all, you don't want anybody who's not supposed to be reprogramming it sending updates to your car. So you don't want just random new software. Excuse me, random new software added to your car. So that's a bad thing. But even when you're getting it direct from the manufacturer, they've got to make sure that it's actually getting programmed correctly. And I'm sure there's people out in the audience there that have had phones that that you've gotten an over-the-air update for your phone or tablet or some other device where the update has failed.
Yeah, well,
and all of a sudden your system's bricked.
You
don't want that happening.
I had that happen to me a couple years ago. I'm obviously a nerd, so I'm the guy that's refreshing. If there's an iOS update, I'm refreshing every 10 seconds to get it first. And so I did this, and I don't do that anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because I remember doing this at work one day. It was a morning, and my phone does the update. I'm like, yes, I got it. And 5-10 minutes later, next thing you know, my phone was bricked because that was the iOS update that totally killed the cellular connection. And so I had no cellular on my phone for no less than 24 hours, all because I was so excited to do this update that who knows what feature it added. But imagine with the cars too, what about a sort of a gray market? Is anyone talking about charging for these updates? Because that would be a problem.
So for basic system updates, where they're fixing bugs or fixing security vulnerabilities, things like that, they're not going to charge for those. Those are always going to be free. But what they will potentially do is, if they can now give you the option, as Tesla does, to get new features added to your car that weren't there when you bought the car. So, like, for example, Tesla, if you bought the car and decided not to get autopilot when you bought it new, you can pay for that later and get that enabled via an over-the-air update. And so I think we're going to see other manufacturers starting to add that capability to add new features that you might pay for later on. If you decide you didn't want it new when you first bought the car. So that's one thing. But most updates will be free. And then the other thing is they have to make sure that these things are all secure. So all the update files are going to be encrypted. They're going to be digitally signed. And then before it gets enabled, the thing they're doing is they're doing it kind of like if you've ever used a Chromebook. What Google does with Chromebooks is they actually have a separate partition when they have updates to Chrome OS, and they download that, install it, make sure it's running, and then when it's all ready, then they just give you a prompt and say, hey, we've got an update available for you. If you want to use it, restart now. And that's the same sort of thing that the automakers are doing, is they're downloading these in the background, so you're not going to have to wait around for an hour or two or something while it updates.
How are they delivering these? How are they delivering? Because if you're not on the subscription service, now I know Ford, I think, is the first to give you that for free, the sync or whatever, the wireless. Yeah, no, most manufacturers now are giving you at least like the first 3 to 5 years of service on their telematics systems for free with basic services. And things like updates, fixes to systems in your car, those won't be those will be part of the basic service. So you'll always get those for free, and they'll do it over a cellular data connection, or it could be over a Wi-Fi connection.
If you're connected to Wi-Fi, they'll use that instead.
Okay, interesting. And cars, I mean, I know my car has the cellular connection. Do like the Toyotas out there and the Hondas, are they doing that as well?
Yeah, everybody's moving towards that. Within the next 2, 3, 4 years, nearly 100% of new cars are going to have a cellular data connection built in and enabled by default.
All right, Sam. Thanks so much for joining us today on The Tech Guy. Where can folks get in touch with you?
You can find my day job at navigantresearch.com, where I'm a principal analyst. And you can also find my podcast at wheelbearings.media, where my friends Dan and Rebecca and I talk about cars every week.
Sam Abuelsamid, thanks so much for joining us today on The Tech Guy. And now for a special message from Leo himself.
As always, our Tech Guy show brought to you by Epson. My Epson printers are the loves of my life. All right, maybe that's a little strong, but I have to say I love my Epson EcoTanks. You will too this holiday season. Just kiss expensive ink cartridges. Bye. Epson EcoTank comes with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box. With these supersized, easy-to-fill tanks, you can print thousands and thousands of pages, from holiday wish lists to letters and cards, all in stunning, beautiful color. The Epson EcoTanks literally are changing the way people print, and they're saving you a lot of trips to the store. With easy-to-fill, supersized tanks, you got enough to print thousands of pages. You probably won't go to the store till 2021. And when you do, pick up those color-coded, keyed bottles. You can't go wrong. You can't spill. You'll say, hey, thank you, office supply store. I'll see you in 2 more years. See you in 2023. Less frustration, more time to treat yourself and others to something nice. Give yourself the gift of time, convenience. Epson's EcoTank printers, add them to your shopping list so you, too, can just fill and chill. Check out EcoTank printers at Best Buy, Staples, or, of course, Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Transform the way your home or office prints and do away with out-of-ink frustration. EPSON.com/EcoTankLeo. EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill. Epson. Exceed your vision.
Thanks, Leo. All right, so you guys in the behind the scenes here get to see what's going on. Little stumbles today, but it's all okay. We're gonna make it through this. It's all good, and I think from here on out, everything's gonna be just fine. So I think we're gonna be good. Anyway, that was good. The car stuff is interesting. It's really it's like yeah. I love CarPlay and Android Auto. I really do. And I just feel like it's like all we need is, well, I mean, I would argue that's all you need in your car, but it's just interesting that these car manufacturers are still pushing their own systems when, you know, the other thing is just so much easier. But if they can get the wireless CarPlay or Android Auto to work, and you can use the wireless charger that actually charges your phone in a fast manner, I'm all for that. Welcome back to The Tech Guy. Rich DeMuro in for Leo Laporte today. Your calls at 8888 Ask Leo, 1-888-827-5536. Bob is in Tijuana, Mexico. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. I have a question. I recently moved from Orange County, California to Tijuana, and my HP printer wireless connected fine in where I was, but now it won't connect.
And are you using the same? Well, first off, why the move? How's that going?
Oh, it's going great. The rent, the food, it's just a nice place to live.
Wow. Okay, great. So your printer used to connect back at the old place. Are you using the same Wi-Fi network? Are you using the same equipment?
Okay, it's the same equipment, but it's a different router.
And did you reset the settings on the printer to connect it to the new Wi-Fi network?
Well, earlier today I deleted all of the printer settings in my laptop, and so there's nothing there, and my printer's unplugged, so I need to plug it back in and then do a reset on the settings.
Yeah, so that's what you need to do here. So your printer, your computer is you did the right thing on your computer where you deleted that printer off of there because it's still, that had your old connection settings to your old network. So what you need to do is, that was great. Now on the printer itself, there is a way to reset it to factory or just go through the system setup of connecting it to your Wi-Fi network. Does this printer have any sort of display on it?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to go into that display, go into the settings on that display, and then just basically follow the settings to network connection and just connect it to your new network. Once it's connected to your new Wi-Fi network, then you can go through and go on your computer and search for printers on your Wi-Fi network. It will find the printer, it will marry them up, and you'll be able to print once again.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right, Bob. Thanks so much for calling in today. Appreciate it. Enjoy it down there. I've been to Tijuana. Gosh, I've been there once a long time ago. Maybe actually, I've been there twice. Once a real long time ago, and once just maybe, I don't know, a decade ago. But it's been a while. But it's great to hear that you can move to there from Southern California and enjoy a pretty nice life there. Jerry is in Pennsylvania. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Hello, Rich. Can you hear me okay?
It's a little staticky, but I think we're okay now.
Okay. Well, I have a Dish DVR, and I bought it outright. I had it shipped to me. I paid for it. I paid for the programming, and I asked them if I stop my Dish subscription, can I still use my DVR? And they say no, they're going to shut it down, even though I paid for the programming on it and also the equipment. Now, what's your take on this?
Well, I mean, the DVR is a Dish DVR, and it's branded Dish. It's not it's different than a cell phone. A cell phone, if you bought it on iPhone and you had it activated on AT&T, you can go activate it on Verizon after you fulfill your contract. But this is a DVR that is very specific with specific software for Dish, and it makes sense. You said you paid for the programming, but the reality is you can't get programming on this thing unless, the regular channels you can't get unless you're paying for Dish Network. So I think it's fair. I think that I remember I had Dish Network a long time ago, and I remember running into something similar where I think it was like an upfront charge for the DVR. And, once you're done with it, you got to ship it back to them or else they charge you for it. So in your case, it sounds like you've paid for it, but at the same time, it's not necessarily something that is usable after you're done with it. So I would say the best case scenario here is to probably cut your losses and, clear everything off this DVR and just put it on eBay. And, maybe someone else that has Dish Network or wants a replacement DVR can just purchase that. But I doubt that will happen because, a lot of times people get on these plans where Dish will send them the equipment and they'll just either lease it or, month to month it, and then they'll just return it when they're done. But interesting question, Jerry. I would recommend probably going with something like TiVo if you want to get a DVR that you can actually use no matter what subscription or what service or what programming you're getting from there. You're listening to the Tech Guy Radio Show. Rich DeMuro in for Leo Laporte today. Phone lines are open at 8888 Ask Leo, 1-888-827-5536. Call in with your tech questions. Google, we talked yesterday about Google purchasing Fitbit, and I guess this was good timing because Google was a presenter at a big health fair in Las Vegas this week, and they talked about their plans for health. And man, healthcare is all over the place. In fact, I just tweeted about this a couple days ago. You get these bills from the doctor, you get these explanation of benefits, and then you got to pay the bill, which usually requires you calling in if you want to use a credit card or mailing a check. To me, some of these places you find that actually let you pay your bill online, which is amazing, but hardly anyone does that. To get an appointment, you got to call in. You can't just do it online. I wish that all this stuff happened online. I mean, I'm a tech guy, so I love the idea of everything being automated and I can call in and change my appointment, look at my calendar, see when I can go in. But that's just not the reality nowadays. Most of the time, it's very manual right now. And Google knows that. And Google presented on stage talking about some of their efforts in the health area. And one of them is pretty interesting. They imagine a sort of Google search for medical records. So let's say you have a doctor's office, you've got all these people in your system, and they got to look you up however they do, by your name, date of birth, whatever they do. But imagine if they can just type in a keyword like 87, if they were searching for an 87-year-old patient, and next thing you know, you pop up first in the search results because it knows that you're on that appointment and you're there that week, and so it just uses that Google magic to kind of unearth your records. So that's just one of the ideas. By the way, healthcare, $3.5 trillion market, which means it is ripe for disruption. And if anyone can do it, Google might be able to do it, but the reality is it has not changed much in a long time. But they do have this division called Google Health that is trying to change it. So that's the first idea, is the idea of a search bar on top of all the electronic health records in a doctor's office. I mean, it sounds kind of scary when you think about the fact that Google or some sort of search box would have to index everything in that office. But imagine how much easier it would be for the people working that office to find your information. He said doctors could start typing into the search bar, and the system would automatically fill out the responses and offer up information. Now, the other thing they talked about was the idea of this Dr. Google phenomenon, right? And you've done this. You search for something on Google, you got a rash or some sort of whatever, you got a headache. Next thing you know, you think the worst. That's it. It's over, right? I mean, everyone's done this. And so Google is thinking of ways to actually make the information surrounding health a little bit more organized. And, you get these random web page results that tell you the worst thing possible, and it's not very organized. And they have made some progress with this. If you type in certain ailments, Google has given you some good information right at the top with the Mayo Clinic to help you figure this stuff out. But they're thinking they need to take this even a step further. And I'm all for it because anything that can help organize healthcare, we need it. Your calls next at 8888 Ask Leo, 1-888-827-5536. Rich DeMuro in today for Leo Laporte. We'll be back with your calls after this. Yeah, it's like literally look up, red mark on my toe, and yeah, you're dead. Hey, Leo, I heard you had something for us.
Today's Tech Eye Podcast brought to you by something hot. Wasabi hot cloud storage. Wasabi is low-cost, high-speed, fully secure storage that blows away the competition, including Google and Microsoft. I love Wasabi. My buddies, Jeff Flowers and David Friend, created Wasabi. Actually, they patented the technique of writing to disks sequentially instead of in blocks. That makes it faster and more efficient. How fast? Well, Wasabi's enterprise-class cloud storage that's 6 times faster than S3. Up to 6 times, 600% faster. And 80% cheaper. You can't get more secure either with 11 nines of durability. They also have something I think is brilliant. In this day and age of ransomware, you can designate some of your or all of your storage as immutable. It can't be changed. Not by fumble-fingered employees and not by ransomware. They also have data center redundancy. So if one goes down, don't worry, your data is safe and you can always get it. You can always get it. 11 nines of durability you can always get. It's awesome. I think being able to efficiently store all that data up in the cloud is becoming critical for businesses, whether you need to compete, whether you need to innovate. Cloud is great, but do it right. I know, you're going to say, well, nobody ever got fired with the other guys. Yeah, okay, but do you want to be that guy? Or you want to be the guy that goes to the boss and says, boss, I know we were looking at Google and Microsoft and Amazon, but I found a service that's 80% cheaper and 6 times faster, and has all these nice features, including unlike S3, they don't charge for egress. They use the S3 API, so already you got tools to work with it. And they don't charge for API access. To me, this is a no-brainer. You're going to get a gold star from the boss. You can say, wow, when did this start? HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, CJIS compliant. You don't have to tell them you heard it here. That's okay with me. I just found it. It's pretty cool, isn't it, huh? Calculate the savings for yourself. Let the boss do it if you want. And start a free trial of unlimited storage for a month so you can bang on it and see and reassure yourself it's doing what you want. Go to wasabi.com, wasabi.com. Click the free trial link. Enter the code TWIT. Unlimited storage for a month. Join the movement. Migrate your data to the cloud, but do it with confidence with wasabi.com. Don't forget the offer code TWIT. We thank them so much for their support. I'm a big fan. I think you will be too. Wasabi.com, offer code TWIT. Now back to the show.
Thanks, Leo. All right, moving right along here. Let's see. Okay, we got calls. We got good. Okay, cool. What are you guys talking about in the chat room? Let's see. Then you get... When you talking about Waze, I use Google Maps. I can't use Waze. I can't deal with it. Yeah. And Google Maps, I've noticed, has really... They have really... NETV.com. Rich, remember me? No. Of course I do. A lot of you guys remember. Yeah, Google Maps is just... They are incorporating a lot of the features of Waze, like I've noticed. Try Waze with a Cookie Monster mode? That's funny. Well, welcome back to The Tech Guy. This is the show where we talk about technology and answer your calls when it comes to all those little tech issues you might be having. It doesn't necessarily have to be an issue, by the way. Maybe you just want a recommendation. Maybe you just want to pick my brain about a phone. Maybe you want to know what app does what. I had someone text me the other... I mean, it's like, you know, being into tech is kind of like being a doctor, except for the fact that I don't save people's lives. But it's like, you know, the texts come all the time. Hey, Rich, what's the best app for this? Or what's the best app for expense reports? Or what's the best app for, you know, editing my pictures? And I love doing that because that's what I do all day at KTLA is I test this stuff out. I try the new gadgets and I come up with opinions. And that's really, when it comes to technology, I mean, a lot of it's opinion. Come on. I mean, do I like the AirPods? I mean, yeah, they're fine. The AirPods Pro, what do I think is better, AirPods or AirPods Pro? It's all opinion. I mean, can I tell you technically that I think they sound better? Yeah. But when you try them, you may find that you don't like the way they sit in your ears. And so when it comes to any of this tech advice, a lot of it comes down to, you know, do you trust the person telling you, number one? And number two, get a lot of advice, get a lot of opinions, and see what people say, and then form your own opinion. That's what I do. Let's go to Scott in Simi Valley. Scott, you're on with Rich.
Afternoon. So my company is switching to an iPhone 7, and they're getting rid of a Panasonic Toughbook. My concern is typing. I'm not going to be able to type anymore onto a keyboard. I'm going to have to use the iPhone. Is there a way that I can get around it and use a keyboard without the company knowing?
Without the company knowing. So you're.
It doesn't matter. It
right.
doesn't matter, I guess, if they know.
So you're.
Facilitate it.
You're swapping out a laptop for the iPhone. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, there are basically any Bluetooth keyboard will work with the iPhone. The one that I would recommend, because I've tried it, is there's two models from Logitech, and I would check them both out. But the first is the K480, and that's going to be $50. And then there's another one. This is called the Keys to Go. Now, this one's really small. So it kind of depends what kind of keyboard you want. I think in your case, if you're coming from a Panasonic Toughbook, which is kind of a bigger device and it's got a great keyboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to want the K480 because there's actually a place where you can put your smartphone in. There's like a little notch in it that lets, like a groove that lets you sit your smartphone there. And then you can type on it. And it's got these really robust keys that are very pronounced versus this Keys to Go. Keys to Go is by Logitech as well, but those keyboards are much more for kind of someone who just wants to slip a keyboard into like their carry-on for the plane. It's like kind of that flat keyboard where you're not going to get much tactile response from the keyboard. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
And that one's $70.
Okay, so the question is, if all of a sudden they lock down the Bluetooth, can I use a dongle, USB into the FireWire?
That's a good question.
Not FireWire.
Yeah, Lightning. Yeah. So I have tested on my. In fact, I put it in my book. I tested a Bluetooth mouse and actually a wired mouse with my iPhone. So yes, you can use a mouse. A keyboard, you know what? I wonder if you can. I have not tried that personally, but I'm
energized, right? It has to have its own power.
Not necessarily, because a keyboard doesn't really draw much power. I think I'm looking in the keyboards. Yeah, there is a keyboard section of accessibility. So I bet that you would be able to do that. So you need an adapter for the keyboard. So if it had you can literally buy a keyboard on Amazon Basics for like $10, and then just get a Lightning to USB adapter for that keyboard, and you can plug that in. Now, the reason why your company might lock down the Bluetooth is for security reasons, right? Is that that's kind of what I'm understanding?
Yeah. They're going to lock it down as best they can.
Right, yeah. But I would check out those, just see if you can use I'd go with the K480 by Logitech. I'd check out that one first. If you want to go with the wired thing, try that. I think it would work because I'm seeing that in the accessibility of the iPhone. I have not tried it personally, but and believe me, the keyboard on the iPhone is good. It's a little different than a regular, standard computer, but it does work and it does do the trick.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Scott, thanks so much for calling. Appreciate it. Interesting question. I mean, I don't necessarily need to use the keyboard now. I'm so used to the the rest of just on-screen typing. I don't really use it. Tony's in West Palm Beach, Florida. Tony, what's on your mind? On-screen typing. I don't really use it. Tony's in West Palm Beach, Florida. Tony, what's on your mind?
Hey, hold on.
Okay, we got Tony. Tony's listening to the radio in the background. A little bit of a delay. You got to turn down the radio behind you, please.
Hbo here. Sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. What's up?
All right, thank you, Rich. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's paused. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
It just goes with the show we've been having today.
No,
I don't know what's going on here. I think it's the
couldn't
time
believe
change.
It was weird.
Yeah.
My new thing is to watch the live stream because it's more fun. Because it's raw and
you get the behind the
outtakes.
scenes.
It's not. Yeah, Stone Kitty. I love that. But anyway, so I figured since you're like the tech journalist, is there Apple? I don't know aware of this. So they quit supporting reminders in iCloud with Outlook.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I did is I had Outlook 2010, and I went to Outlook 2019, and that didn't fix the issue. It's still not supported because I like to have everything in one place. So I decided to use Apple Notes, and Apple Notes isn't supported in Windows that I can find with Outlook. Do you know of a solution for that?
So you're trying to do what? You're trying to have reminders on your Windows PC that you create from your iPhone?
Now, reminders on the Windows PC, it shows up under the task view.
Okay.
And it's an iCloud plugin.
Oh, it's an iCloud plugin. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
And it's not supported any longer with Apple, with iOS 13.2 going forward.
Yeah, probably because they've locked down a lot of things in iOS 13.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably a security thing if I had to guess, because so many things have changed, and I'm guessing they're just not giving access to that. However, this little plugin was getting access to those reminders, it's just not allowing that. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah. So what I did as a workaround, maybe some of your guys know, but what I did as a workaround, it's kind of a pain. So I upgraded to Outlook 2019. That didn't fix it. There's still no plugin available. So I like Firefox. So I use Firefox in my browser, and then I use Edge with the iCloud login for my notes, and I have notes as my homepage in Edge.
Okay.
So it's kind of wonky, but that's what I did.
But it works.
It works, yeah, but it's two things instead of one thing. It's separated now instead of combined.
Yeah, well, I think the bigger problem and kind of what you're experiencing is it's tough when you're, with Apple, if you're using an iPhone with your MacBook or some sort of Mac product, everything works perfectly, right? And on Windows, it's a little bit different, and it's just it's tougher to get those things to sync through everything. And there are a lot of solutions, but not as many as as you'd like. And I think this is kind of just a bigger issue that we're noticing in the tech world is that everything, when you have the same stuff, it all seems to work together. And we just saw that Samsung and Microsoft are trying to, on the Android side of things, get stuff to work better. So if you have an Android phone, you can get your notifications on a Windows device now through an app called Your Phone. And I just think that what you're experiencing is kind of the side effect of the fact that if you're using Outlook, it's not necessarily going to sync as perfectly with your iPhone as something else like iCloud would with a Mac. But it sounds like you found kind of a little workaround that hopefully will work for now. You are listening to the Tech Guy Radio Show. Rich DeMuro sitting in today for vacationing Leo Laporte. Let's have you call in. 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. Got a tech question? Dial me up. Welcome back to the Tech Guy. Rich DeMuro sitting in for Leo Laporte today. You might see me on KTLA in the mornings if you live in Los Angeles, or maybe on some other TV stations. We do syndicate our report out. Talk about technology there, all kinds of good stuff. So check me out on KTLA around 5 a.m., 7 a.m., 9 a.m. if you live in Los Angeles. Ryan is in Eureka, California. Ryan, you're on with Rich.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I have a Samsung S8, and I dropped it in water like a year ago, so I have to put you on. So you're on speakerphone. I hope it doesn't sound horrible.
No, it actually sounds pretty good.
But then the top part quit working, so the only way I can hear people is if it's on a speaker. But anyway, I was wondering about I have T-Mobile, and then I don't know if you saw the advertising, but then they're like, it said 600 megahertz is the new thing for T-Mobile. And then there's two phones that have 600 megahertz 5G, and there's a bunch of other phones that have 600 megahertz 4G. And then it said it's the new. I was thinking about waiting a year to get the OnePlus 8T when it comes out, because that'll be like full 5G 600. But should I get that OnePlus 7T McLaren?
You're trying to. What are you trying to do? You're trying to get the most for your money and the phone that will work the best and last the longest.
And then I don't want to, because I keep my phones for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of it's an interesting question, because I had some people email me about, hey, should I get a 5G? And my response has always been, don't worry about 5G right now, because we have a full year before we're even going to consider these networks to be robust enough to actually use on a daily basis. But they came back to me and said, well, Rich, I only buy my phone once every 3 years, so if I don't get it now, I don't really have another window of opportunity for 3 years, and by that time, it's going to be kind of late. And so it's an interesting thing when you're upgrading your phone on a cycle like that, because what do? Do you go for the phone that's kind of unproven? And they're all first generation technology with this 5G. But now the 600 megahertz spectrum is supported on a lot of the 4G LTE phones. That is what T-Mobile says kind of reaches further into buildings and stuff, and it's kind of like their latest, promotion for the network. So how is the network in general where you live?
It's okay. Like, the nice thing is I don't get throttled at all, so I'll use 300 gigabytes.
Oh, wow. You're using a lot.
I don't have Wi-Fi where I live, so I just use my phone. And I've actually never been throttled because it's so rural. There's not a lot of people using it.
Right.
But then the lady, I talked to a T-Mobile representative, and I was told the only true 5G is that Note 10 and then the OnePlus 7T McLaren that's exclusive. But then
right. Well, and
then I was thinking about waiting until a year from now. And it also said on a certain website, it said they're going to do 4G and 5G both over 600.
Right.
How does that work?
I no idea, but they'll figure it out if they can do it. I'm not an expert in that kind of stuff. But the thing is, here's what I would say. Number one, I'm not sure in your area, is it a rural area where you live?
It is rural.
So I'm not sure that you're going to get how much 5G you're going to get out there.
On their commercials, they say it reaches farther and faster, but
right.
You understand commercial.
Well, those are commercials, and believe me, I've tested. It's like you see these commercials and you test it out, and it's like, okay, it seems like the same thing. So, and I have no doubt that T-Mobile's been getting better over the years, but I guess my advice to you is if you want the 5G and you think it's going to be in your neighborhood, which I'm not certain it's going to be, even though I know that T-Mobile, convinced the government with this merger that they're going to, really focus on rural. Like, we want to deliver 5G to most of America. And they may do that. It may take them a long time to do that, because when you think about 4G, it kind of went from big cities, and all of a sudden it went to littler places. But in some rural areas, you're still, just getting that as of a year ago or 2 years ago. So, but maybe 5G is different. Maybe T-Mobile is telling the truth, and that's really what's going to happen. But if I were you, if you want to jump on a phone now, when this 5G OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren edition comes out, say that 10 times fast, I think that's probably your best bet. But I would...
it comes out and I'm thinking about, but then I was thinking about waiting a year until the OnePlus 8T, because in a year, the 5G is going to be more accessible.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, it really comes down to... It comes down to kind of your timeline, what you're thinking, and whether you think that it's the right time to do it. I'm not really recommending any 5G phones as any of the first generation phones. I'm just not recommending. And I don't think the average person should buy into 5G right now. The reason being is that 5G is almost nowhere. I did a story with Sprint and their 5G in Los Angeles, and I'll tell you, it was really tough to find. Even in areas where they were telling me it was available, it would sometimes pop up, it would sometimes not. So I just don't think that anyone needs to get on this 5G bandwagon just yet. Now, in a year, sure. And we're probably going to see the next iPhone in 2020, in September, support these 5G networks. That's the rumor going on there. But right now, we've got 5G phones from Samsung. You've got them from OnePlus, and maybe a couple of others. But I just don't see the point right now when you just can't access that network in a big way. So good question. And I understand if you're on that 3-year kind of upgrade frame, it is a little bit tougher because you have to make a decision today that's going to last you even longer. And if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you've got a new perk that is totally free. You should check it out. Amazon Fresh was made free by Amazon this week. So now if you used to pay $14.99 a month for that perk, it is now included in Amazon Prime. Now, here's the catch you need to know about. If you used Amazon Fresh in the past, you have access immediately to the new free Fresh. But if you didn't, you actually have to request an invitation, and they'll tell you when you're able to shop, because they know that once they made this free as part of Prime, everyone's going to want to try it out. So Amazon.com/fresh if you want to check it out. We've got Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, up next, and more of your questions at 8888 Ask Leo. You're listening to The Tech Guy. Chris, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, Rich.
Oh, there you are.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I heard you had a bit of a rough start.
Oh, my
I'm here.
gosh.
Everything's okay now, okay?
Rough? I don't think rough describes it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
So
my
glad I didn't
gosh.
watch.
It's like worst case scenario. Yeah, it happened. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, shoot. Do you know how long our segment is?
I don't. Let me ask.
I think it's about 9 minutes. I'm just asking because I have something that I want to get in the end, and I have to start that early enough so I can finish it.
John, are we doing a full segment here? Is that what's happening? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out.
There we go. Yeah. 9 minutes? Yeah. Yep.
Okay, sounds cool.
Full segment. Yeah, follow his lead. Okay. Yeah, full segment. What are we going to talk about?
Are you an iPhone guy?
I do have an iPhone, yes.
Do you have the latest one?
I do.
Okay, that's good. We'll talk about ultra wide angle.
Okay, great. I just took a picture with that this morning.
That's very good. Yeah, just a few tips and tricks about how to use that, because it makes things a bit more complicated in some areas when it comes to image composition, these kind of things.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it won't be too techy.
That's perfect.
And then at the end, we do this monthly assignment on the show, and normally Leo carries that, and I'll just remind people of the assignment and tell them how they can upload their pictures to Flickr and stuff. So I'll start this about 1 minute before the end of the segment.
Okay.
That's the plan.
All right. Sounds good to me. What time is it over there?
9:30 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's usually it's really those 2 weeks. We switch away from the daylight saving 2 weeks before you guys.
Oh, really?
So that is usually very confusing for a couple of weeks. But you guys switched last night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're asking in the chat room about Deep Fusion. I'll be honest. I think it actually makes my pictures look worse. On Halloween, the Deep Fusion, I think, made them look way too affected. Like they were super sharpened.
I have not personally tried Deep Fusion because I'm still on a trusty iPhone XR, which is going to change soon. But yeah, Deep Fusion, I haven't had my hands on it. I've seen some examples and they look pretty good, but I'm convinced there are situations where it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to know when it kicks in, like if they put it like a little marker on your photo. But I could definitely tell, like some of the night photos I took on Halloween, where it kicked in. Like I'm looking at one of my kid right now, and it looks horrible. Like it looks like.
Does it tell you? Does it tell you if it used Deep Fusion? Because that's what irks me a bit, that you do not have a way to turn it on or off.
Well, that's Apple. I mean, that's come on.
Well, I know.
That's the way of.
Well, but
Apple.
then on the other hand, they give you shortcuts, which is the most nerdy thing that you can have.
But,
so
Yeah, I agree with the. I actually was going to do a shortcuts thing because I was listening to a podcast where the guy from one of the members of the original Shortcuts team was on the podcast, and it's like workflow on your phone, but or Tasker from Android days, if you remember that. I don't know if you're an Android guy,
no.
But I mean, it's just funny that like they would put something like that on a mainstream phone, and like I was even trying to do like the simplest thing where I added a one tap to call my wife, like on my phone, like you can finally add that on your home screen, and it's so complicated that like I can't even do a video on it for like the average person because it's like they're just gonna tune out after like 20 seconds.
But it's awesome. I like it so much because I've started using RFID tags with it. So
you have? Yeah.
I have them around the house at different places when I want to trigger something really quickly and repeatedly, and just hold the phone up to it and boom, something happens. I love that.
Welcome back to the Tech Guy Radio Show. Rich DeMuro sitting in for Leo Laporte today. You can find me on my website, richontech.tv. I post all the stories that I do from KTLA, my TV segments there, all little Instagram things I do. Instagram.com/richontech. You can find me there. Twitter.com/richdemuro. Where else? Facebook.com/richontech. You know, you got to be on all the social medias these days, and every one of them has a different way of doing things, right? Chris Marquardt is our photo guy. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rich, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and there's been a lot, I know, with photos. It's just so amazing. I went out the other night, and I got the new Pixel 4, the tester, and I made it. I basically took the Pixel 4 and the iPhone, and I just went on like 3 different places, and it ended with me trying to do astrophotography with the Pixel 4. And
awesome.
It was great. I mean, it's really tough to find a dark sky in Los Angeles, but yeah.
I understand you have an iPhone 11.
I do have an iPhone 11. That is my personal phone.
And the iPhone 11 introduced that ultra wide angle lens. The Pixel 4 doesn't have that. So when you compare the two, is that something you use a lot, or is that something that you could do without?
It's something that I never thought I needed until you don't have it. And I feel like the Pixel 4 is really, it's a problem that it's not on there, because there are times when you just want to snap back, stay where you're standing, and just take a wide angle picture. And for a phone, every phone I've tested in the past 6 months has that feature, and so for a phone not to have it, I do think that it puts it at a disadvantage. Not that the average person is thinking of the Pixel, I don't think, but
well, but it's an interesting choice to not put it in there. But you're right, a lot of people have wide-angle lenses or ultra-wide-angle lenses now, and that is really changing something, because the standard lens on your phone was already wide-angle. That's if you speak in photo parlance, it was like a 28 millimeter lens, and now what Apple did is they took that and just cut it in half, made it twice as wide, made a 13 millimeter ultra wide angle lens in addition to the regular wide angle lens. And it's really, if you shoot ultra wide angle, it gives you a very different look. It's very fun, right? It exaggerates things a lot. It adds kind of this unusual element to your shot. And it makes the close things much closer and the things that are far away much further away than we see it with our eyes. So it really adds this sometimes even a comical element to our photos, because it introduces distortion that we don't see with our eyes, and it's almost a surreal effect sometimes. So it's a lot of fun. I love ultra wide angle, but it does pose a few challenges. If you're more serious about photography, then adding more angle doesn't just make things look more awesome. It also, adds a few complications. And the first one is that there's loads of stuff in your frame all of a sudden, right? Much more than you normally get in the frame. That's what the wider angle does. And that can lead to things being more distracting from whatever you want to shoot. If you take a picture of a person and then you shoot it at wide angle, there's more in the background that might distract from that person, right? So that's the first thing. And I have two things that I keep reminding people of, and I think I have done with Leo, but it's worth mentioning again because there's this new ultra-wide thing in the iPhone now, which I call, the first thing I call background check. Check what's going on in the background of that person that you're taking a photo of, because there might be a lot.
Because there's a lot more going on.
Yeah, and then you can easily take care of that if you just move a step to the side and maybe change the direction a bit. So background check is the first thing. The second I call border patrol. You have that edge of the frame, the border of the frame that stuff can peek into from the sides. And if you have something sticking in, that might be a bit of a distraction too. So those two things, I do this with every shot. I do every single shot, and I don't even really think of it consciously anymore. It's fully automated pretty much.
So background, look at the background, then look at the borders. So what's going on kind of the corners of your photo as well?
Yep.
Okay, that's two good things.
And then you'll notice, something's intruding in the frame that shouldn't, and that's a simple thing to take care of by just moving a bit. The second issue with ultra-wide angle, and you might have seen this playing with the ultra-wide lens, is the distortion towards the edges of the frame, and especially to the edges. Like if you take a picture of a person, a portrait, and you place that person at the edge of that ultra-wide frame, their head will turn into an egghead. It just stretches things out. And it can be used for comic effect. But if you want to avoid this, the very simple solution for that is place the subject more in the middle. Just move it a bit over and you'll be fine. And that's something to play with. Everyone can do a little exercise. Just set the phone to the ultra-wide setting and then take pictures of your friends, your family, and place them at different places in the frame, and just look what that ultra-wide does to those heads. And at the edge is not always a good choice.
Why is that? What happens at the edge?
Okay, so here's the explanation. If you think of your eye, because you do not see this distortion with your eye, even though your eye is ultra-wide angle too, if you look how the eye works, it's a sphere, right? So whatever comes into the eye gets projected into that sphere. And now imagine you flatten out that sphere. That's what your camera is. It has a flat sensor that everything gets projected on. And the moment you flatten it out, the rays to the edges have to travel much longer. So that's where this distortion comes from. It's a projection issue, pretty much.
Did you just say that my eyes are wide angle? So I've got the upgrade on my eyes, the ultra wide angle lens?
It's built in. It's built in from birth. You have a field of view of about 180 degrees with both eyes combined. So
wow, okay.
That's even more than your camera can do, than your new smartphone can do. Third potential issue is the distortion. Let's call it distance distortion. If you take a picture, if you go close to something with your ultra-wide angle, the things that are close appear much bigger than they would with your eye, and the things that are further away appear much smaller. So it kind of stretches out the depth, right? It makes things that are close really big and things that are far away really, really far away. And the ultra-wide angle exaggerates that big time. And what that means is if you have something where it's really kind of important how distant different things are from the camera, like in a portrait, for example, if you go really close with an ultra-wide, you will end up with a really big nose because that's the closest to the camera. And the ears in the background always kind of almost disappearing. So
it's like a caricature.
There's something to play with. Like a caricature, exactly. So play with distances. Move that camera closer to things further away, and just try what that does with what you want to photograph. And if you want that comic effect, now you know how to kind of force that. So that's just a few little tips that you can play with your ultra wide angle. Before we wrap this up, just one last thing, because normally Leo does that, but let me take over for today, and that's our assignment. And I want to remind people that we still have our monthly assignment going, and the assignment is golden. That's the topic. And the way this works is we're using the free photo platform Flickr for this. That's flickr.com. And on Flickr, there's the Tech Guy group, and that's where you can post your picture for our golden assignment. And as usual, there's nothing really to win other than in a couple of weeks, I'll pick 3 of your photos for our golden assignment, and then we'll have a look at them together and talk about them here on the show. So take a picture that depicts golden, whatever that means for you. Could be the golden hour, something golden, literally or figuratively. And upload it to the Tech Guy group on Flickr. Make sure you add the tag TG Golden. That's the official tag for that. So I can then find your photos. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you got there, what you're coming up with.
All right. Maybe take some of those in that wide angle, ultra wide angle. Chris Marquardt, tipsfromthetopfloor.com is his website. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more of your calls at 8888 Ask Leo on the Tech Guy after this.
That was perfect timing.
Yeah, that was perfect timing. Thank you. It's funny. I took a couple wide angles this morning, like at my hotel, and I was messing with like just like looking at exactly what you said. It's so weird that you said that, because I was like kind of moving it to the sides just to see what the angles look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway,
it really does weird things, but it's so much fun to play with it. And once you understand why it happens, it's kind of easy to correct for.
So when are you going to upgrade? Are you going to get that or what? You going to go for the Pro, Pro Max?
This one, I'll first switch out this one because it's got a crack on the back, and I have Apple Care, so it should be an easy one. And then, I don't know. I mean, we have one in the house. We have an 11 in the house, and I am playing with it. But at this point, I don't know.
You've got more equipment than you don't need your phone all the time.
You know, with my computers, I wait for with my bigger cameras, I wait for years until I upgrade them. I don't run after the latest model. So with my second last DSLR, I think I've had that for like 8 or 9 years.
Oh wow!
So
wow, that's amazing.
Does the job.
How are the responses on the photography challenge?
Let me check. We have.
You gotta wait, or do you do one every week?
No, we do one every month.
Every month. Okay.
The group is amazing. There's over 13,000 people on the group.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And the current assignment, the golden assignment, it's usually in the up to 50 people.
That's cool.
No, this one's 71 people. 71.
Nice.
Pretty good.
That's cool. Lots
of golden hour photos.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, we're extending this. I might do this next weekend. We'll be you'll be on the show again next weekend, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we'll talk again next weekend. Maybe we do the assignment review. If Burke can drive the visuals for that.
Cool.
We'll figure that out.
All right.
If not, we'll do another topic.
I'm assuming you don't stay in because of the the time change. You're probably ready to be done. You don't stay in the chat room.
I'm an idol. I'll be around for another few minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. All right, Chris,
Rich,
thank
you so much.
Okay, take care.
Talk to you next week.
Welcome back to The Tech Guy, the show where we talk about technology and take your calls. Give me a call, 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. My name is Rich DeMuro, sitting in today for Leo Laporte, who is on vacation. We're having a great time here talking about technology. We just got some great advice on how to take advantage of that new wide-angle, ultra-wide-angle lens on the new iPhone, which I've really enjoyed. And now we're going to take some more of your calls. So let's go to Grand Forks, North Dakota. Joseph, you're on with Rich. What's on your mind?
Hi, Rich. Good afternoon. I have an issue with my Galaxy S7 phones regarding adoptable storage. As far as I know, it is still allowed on the phones. However, I've been having trouble setting it up. I download the programs and I type in the prompts using my laptop, but it would never, ever work. At least the program to set up adoptable memory or to use it to program the phone wouldn't work. So I want to know if you and or the chat room would have an answer on how to set it up properly on my phones.
Well, I'm under the impression. So, okay, adoptable storage is you're talking about when you put in a micro or an SD card, like an external memory card, and it becomes part of the memory of the phone, right? Instead of just storing like pictures on there, it becomes part of the it merges with the memory on the phone, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, you essentially use the developer settings. You go into developer settings, and then what I've learned, or what I've heard rather, is that you have to do a little bit of programming in the background in order to trick the phone into thinking that that storage was part and integrated of the phone.
Right. And so from what I've seen, and I remember when this first kind of came out on Android, you can do this. I'm under the impression that it's not something that's easily, or Samsung doesn't really allow it on their phones. And here's why I think that is. I think the reason why they don't allow it is because if you pop out that memory card at any point, you could have a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, why they don't allow it. Now, you're saying you're going into developer settings and it's still not working. It's probably because something is blocked at the firmware or system level that is just saying, you know what, we're not going to allow this. Even though Android does allow it, we're not allowing this to happen on this phone for security reasons. And I bet that Samsung in their software somewhere has hard coded, to not allow this, no matter what you do, no matter what your system is. Now, that's my theory, but I don't know if that's 100%, but I think that's the main thing. Because it's just, from what I've read online, it seems like it's saying that it's something that, it says Samsung phones do not support adoptable storage. So that's on the official Samsung website. So that's probably why you're running into a problem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Would you know of how I could possibly get around that without having to do any hard coding?
That's the thing. I don't think there's a way around it. If their software is blocking it, unless you ran a certain custom ROM or something, but that's getting into the weeds there with that. What do you want to use this for? What's the issue? Do you need more storage than the phone has or something? More so than just for memory or music, and photos?
Believe it or not, pretty much. And on my end, it's more or less just for storage for like different things, especially for apps, because I use a lot of apps. For my wife, it's mostly for taking photos, especially of our little baby boy, and that's an understandable thing. I have tried to use different apps such as Move the SD card, and I found those. Depending on the app, they're they work half the time, I would say. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm just saying that's
it's just not a priority for those. Those apps are probably coded by a person that's working in their spare time to develop those, right? So it's just when they get the time to work on it and they try it out and they might work on one day and then all of a sudden something breaks it. Well, for your wife, I think that just using the standard SD card is probably going to be just fine for the photos. But if you're talking a lot of apps, I know the newer versions of Android will allow kind of like some offloading of apps, but it's tough to get that if you're kind of stuck with a certain amount of memory in your phone. What about have you checked out the program Files Go on Android? It's like kind of Google's like way to clean up space on your phone. Have you tried that?
I have used a version of that, more or less integrated with the Samsung OS on the phone. That has actually helped out. And, just basic maintenance on my end, I'd actually have gone through apps and going, okay, what do I really use on a daily basis? Right. Do I really need this? And especially if I have it on a wish list, I know I could go back to the list at any time and say, you know what, I'll take out this and I'll download this today.
Right.
And I have done that. It's just that for me, I would like to have that added convenience of saying getting a 200 gigabyte SD card, integrating it with the phone, and now I have 232 gigs, for example.
Yeah, of course. I think, and how much memory is on your phone? What's the storage that's included? 64?
It's actually a 32 gigabyte.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's part of the tough part too. Is you're in a world of 2019 where apps are just giant now. I mean, if you look at like the Facebook app, it's, it could be a couple hundred megabytes. So that's the problem. What's that?
It blows my mind. I'm thinking probably just to get off of Facebook just for that part.
Yeah, I mean, but you shouldn't have to. I mean, I feel bad that you're running into this problem. I would say the best thing you could do is probably try to get all your pictures off that phone. I'm sure you've already done this. Just make sure they're on, some sort of cloud storage, or just make sure that the memory card is always taking care of the pictures. But it sounds like with 32 gigs, by the time you have the operating system on there and then a couple of apps, you're already hitting up against the limit, which is why you're looking into this solution.
Yeah.
So, I can't give you a good answer, except maybe it's time to save up for a new 128 gigabyte phone and see, might take you a little bit, but maybe that's the way to go at this point.
Very quickly, I have a question. Do you know if adoptable storage is still considered an option on the newer Samsung or even the Apple phones?
No, Apple doesn't do anything with extra storage. That's actually not true. They actually do let you, with the newest iPhones, the newest operating system, you can actually plug a flash drive into your phone. But when it comes to running apps and all that stuff, that's not really. Android is different than Apple. Apple is everything is on the phone, so that's going to be the way it is there. Yeah, that's probably the best bet. All right, Joseph, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Interesting question. I have not had that. I have not thought about that kind of storage in a long time. It's been, I used to tinker a lot with Android phones. I used to do all kinds of crazy stuff, run different software on them, do all the stuff that he was talking about. At this point, I don't do as much of that because a lot of the features that used to be, that you'd have to kind of do yourself on the phone, they've been adopted by the operating system, especially when it comes to the iPhone. So you just don't need to do all these crazy little things anymore. And the storage has also gotten better. So it used to be adoptable storage was an issue for a lot of people. And nowadays, because phones are coming with more and more storage and you've got the cloud, it's just not as much of a problem for people as it used to be. All right, good question. We'll take more of your calls at 8888 Ask Leo in just a bit. And I'm looking at the trade-in values. A lot of times, if, just respect to the last caller, a lot of times if you have a phone that's a little bit older, the best way to get the best trade-in value is through a lot of times through the manufacturers. So when these new phones come out, a lot of times they will give you bonus trade-in cash, and that's exactly what Samsung is doing right now. They're giving up to $600. So now, with respect to the last caller, he said he had an S7, a Galaxy S7. That phone is only getting $75 of trade-in credit, but they're doing something kind of crazy. They're trying to get people that have some of the newest phones to upgrade. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy S10, you've used it, or an S10 Plus rather, and you've used it for a little bit, and you're saying, you know what, I think it's time for an upgrade, they'll give you $600 for that phone. If you have a Note 9, they'll give you $450. Samsung Galaxy S10, $450. S10e, $450. Galaxy S9, $350. And that's $150 more than they would normally give you. It's usually $200. They're giving you an extra $150. And the reason is they're trying to get you to buy a new phone. But just remember that when you've got an Android device and you're thinking of switching to a Samsung, always go to the Samsung.com website and check to see what their trade-in offers are. Because a lot of times they run these promotions that just give you much more than that phone is actually worth. Rich DeMuro sitting in for Leo Laporte. The phone number to call, 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. We'll take more of your calls at the top of the hour. I actually, when I had the Note 7 as my as a tester device, Samsung had to send. I forget. They physically came to pick it up for me. I think that's what they did because they said you have to get rid of this. And I really didn't want to. I wanted to keep it because of just who's going to have a Note 7 in 10 years, right? But I didn't want my house to burn down, so I had to give it back. All right, let's hear from Leo Laporte. Leo.
Tech Guy Podcast has been brought to you for, I think it's 8 years now by Ring Central. That's our phone system. I love our Ring Central phone system. This thing is awesome. We first decided on Ring Central when we opened the Brick House studio. Russell told us about it. He said, why put a PBX in the basement? You could be modern. You could innovate. You can get Ring Central. We did. We are happy. So happy when we moved to our new studios 3 years ago. We brought Ring Central with us. You better believe it. One of the reasons I love Ring Central, they're constantly improving and innovating, adding new features. It's now the #1 global cloud phone system, and it does everything you would want with business communications. You can work remotely, but still making phone calls from your office line in effect. It's from your phone, your smartphone. You can route calls, so no matter where you are, you'll never miss a call. Video conferencing, yeah, you bet. Really good quality video conferencing. You can use team messaging. Are you paying extra for a team messaging solution? Don't. It's part of the RingCentral plan. And, of course, it works with all your favorite apps, Gmail and Zapier. Yeah, we love them. Salesforce, Microsoft Outlook, and more. Everything we use, RingCentral works with, and it makes life so much easier. And I love this. You know, ever been in a business meeting and you see a message came in, it's from a client, you want to know, you've been waiting for them. You don't want to listen to the message at the meeting. Now, voicemail is transcription, so you can, subtly glance down, look at the transcription, know what the call's about. And it's really good quality, by the way. Perfect. I get my voicemail emailed to me, texted to me. You never miss a message. It's not just a phone system. That's what we thought we got when we bought it 8 years ago. Now, it's really a workflow tool. Connect easily with customers and employees. Effortless service with any mode on any device, anywhere. Their app provides flawless integration, so you're carrying RingCentral with you in your pocket at all times, which means, you can, for instance, you could be on a phone call, transition it to your computer when you get to the office seamlessly. They'll never know. You could send business text messages, SMS from your personal phone, and you don't have to transfer your contacts into the app. It automatically populates for you, and they'll even let you port existing numbers. So if you've got a great number at your business, don't worry, you're not going to lose it. Just move it right over to RingCentral. That's what we did. We have a great 800 number. We did not lose it. I did the whole phone tree thing all by myself. It was easy. RingCentral, it's the complete communications solution, and it's all one vendor. I really like that. As low as $19.99. That saves you money, cuts your phone cost by at least 30%. Great customer service 24/7, phone, live chat, email. When you sign up today, you're going to get instant access to RingCentral's award-winning powerful phone system with text, fax, yeah, they do fax too, video conferencing, and a lot more. Take advantage of their special holiday bundle right now. Just because you're listening, you won't pay a penny till 2020. I like that. RingCentral.com/tech guy. Don't pay a penny till 2020. RingCentral.com/tech guy. What are you waiting for? No, well, you can wait till the end of the show. No, don't wait. Do it. Now back to the tech guy.
Thanks, Leo. All right. Moving right along here. These, they get you weird. They kind of do. You know what? I guess the advertising worked because I saw my friend iJustine drinking these on all her videos, and I started drinking them. So now, clearly their advertising worked. I'll get you. Thanks, Justine. What's going on? I'm Rich DeMuro, and this is the Tech Guy Show, where we talk about technology and answer the questions that you have about your gadgets, your smartphones, your computers, your smart home devices, your smartwatches, anything with smart in front of it. Or maybe anything else you have. Maybe you want a recommendation for an app, or you need to figure out how to do something, or maybe your computer's just not working. Give me a call. My name is Rich DeMuro. I'm the tech reporter at KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles, filling in for Leo Laporte today. And if you have an iPhone, check out my book. It's called 101 iPhone Tips and Tricks. It's available on Amazon right now. I updated it for iOS 13, so make sure you look for the one with the black and blue cover. That is the latest one. All kinds of good stuff in there. I mean, basically anyone who has purchased this book has told me, Rich, I love it. I really enjoy the tips inside, and I've just learned stuff about my phone that I didn't know was possible. And it's not a book for nerds or geeks. It's just for the everyday person that just wants to feel like they're in control of their device. My podcast is called Rich on Tech, so if you like what you're hearing here, check out my podcast. You can find it wherever you listen to audio. I talk about all the tech stuff you should know about, and I answer all the questions that people send me. Because my normal job is on KTLA, Channel 5 in Los Angeles, where I talk about technology every day. And guess what? You guys notice because you email me every day with all kinds of questions. And so that's where I answer them, is in the podcast. And I will email you back too. So that's always nice. YouTube is so popular. We know that. But now YouTube is kind of edging out other forms of entertainment for tweens and teens. So I don't even think it's up into young adults, but it's probably for everyone. I mean, it's definitely, YouTube is kind of like the choice, the de facto choice for young people as to where they're watching things. It's topped TV, music, video games, and mobile games for enjoyment among teens, or tweens, I should say. This is all from Common Sense Media. 4 years ago, it ranked 5th. And among teens, only listening to music is more popular. And that makes sense because they're much more into music than I guess even the younger kids. But between teens and tweens in the U.S., 8 to 12-year-olds are now averaging just under 5 hours of screen time a day. Teens, 7.5 hours a day. And if you have been around anyone that's young, there's always a tablet in front of them. There's always some sort of screen. And by the way, that does not include screen use at school. And it's also getting younger and younger. So kids are getting access to these devices at a younger age. And I'm guilty of this. I've got a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old wants a phone. And I get it. I want him to have a phone, but I don't. I don't want him to have to deal with the burden of having a smartphone and feeling like you have to check it all the time, right? But at the same time, I would like to be able to like get in touch with him once in a while when he's at school. But I know it's something that we didn't grow up with, we never thought of, but you just feel like you want to be able to email or text him once in a while. Maybe not email, but text. Number of 8-year-olds with phones grew from 19% in 2019 up from 11% in 2015. And a majority of kids, 53% of them have their own phone by the time they're 11. And a huge majority, 69% have one at 12. Now, here's what is losing out in all of this. Reading. So half of teens say they still read for fun at least once a week. But it's tough if you have kids. Oh, it's like, hold on, you can binge 5 shows on Netflix, or hey, do you mind reading that book? And I think part of the problem is probably us parents, because what do they see us doing? They see us sitting there on our phones. And so they want to be on their phones, and they see us watching Netflix, so they want to watch Netflix. How many parents do you think are out there sitting there with a paperback book on the couch when their kids come home from school? Probably not many. And so what I try to do is I try to sit in front of my kids and read and talk about how great the book is that I'm reading. Because even though I'm a tech guy, I do love reading, and I'm always reading a book, no matter what. And I do struggle with Kindle versus paperback. I love the paperbacks, but the Kindle is just so much easier. But again, I sit there and I say, hey, this book is so good. What are you reading? Or what do you, and they, of course, are playing some video game. YouTube is popular, but the interesting thing in this report is that YouTube Kids, which is meant for kids, is not as popular as regular YouTube. So 8 to 12-year-olds, 76% of them use YouTube, even though it's meant for ages 13 and older, according to the law. By comparison, only 23% of them watch YouTube Kids. Let's see. The other thing. Oh, this is the most interesting part of this study to me. And I've always talked about this idea of these devices we have are perfect for creating content. And my kid, actually, one of them wants to be on YouTube. And I struggle with letting him be on YouTube because we know how mean the comments can be on YouTube. And do I want to subject him to that at this early age? I'm not going to say how old I am, but even as an adult, some of the comments that I get on a daily basis from my appearances on TV and the stuff that I have to read on Twitter is not very nice. And so do I want to subject my kid to that? But the majority of young people, according to this survey, spend very little time creating their own content. 2% among tweens and 3% among teens. So that means that out of all these kids that have phones and iPads and access to all this digital content creation stuff, only 2 to 3% are actually using it to create content. But I kind of take a little bit of, I'm wondering about that, because is creating for TikTok, I mean, TikTok, right? This is the app that's kind of taking the young people by storm right now. It features a lot of people dancing and lip syncing, and they have to create that content. They have to film, or I say film, that's an old school term, record themselves doing something silly. And that's sort of being creative. That's sort of creating content. But the idea of making art, creating music, coding, or even writing on these devices is minimal. And the other thing losing out, by the way, we mentioned reading, is the television set. So it used to be that a couple years ago, half of teens' TV viewing took place on a TV set. Now just about 25%. And that is not necessarily the case in my house. I think my kids do watch the TV more than their iPads, but that's probably something that's going to change in the future. Yeah, times are changing, folks. I mean, that's for sure. I notice with myself, I mean, believe me, and I'm sure you notice this with yourself, that you're in the line at the coffee place, and what do? You scroll through Instagram, you scroll through Facebook. I love just looking around and seeing what people are doing on their phones, because that to me is like market research. Just if I'm in line somewhere at the grocery store, I just want to see how are people using these devices. And 99.9% of the time, they are scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through Facebook. And that's the reality of it. And that's why I'm always trying to make content for Facebook and Instagram, because that's where people are. That's where they're sitting there. You know, they only have a couple of minutes and you have to catch them. You've got to get them fast. So I notice with Instagram, the videos that I produce for Instagram at Rich on Tech, if you want to check them out, they're 60 seconds. That's it. 60 seconds. Do you know how tough it is to tell a full story in 60 seconds? But you come up with ways of doing it. And that's kind of the fun part to me. I've always seen myself as a content creator. Before that was a fancy term to label someone that produces content for YouTube. But to me, as a old school TV guy, I'm a storyteller. I'm a content creator. That's what I do. Now I just have different tools and different ways of doing it. For many years of my career, it was always on TV. And now we're creating those stories for TV, but we're also creating a version of them for Instagram, a version of them for Facebook. And Facebook, by the way, people will watch a little bit longer. And then YouTube, you can go a little bit more in depth. Lots of stuff to think about, but it is fun for me. As someone who grew up editing tapes on reel-to-reel, the fact that I can shoot, edit, and post a video from my phone that can go worldwide is just an amazing thing. You are listening to The Tech Guy, the show where we talk about technology and take your calls. I've got phone lines open right now at 1-8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. Rich DeMuro in for Leo Laporte today. We'll get to your calls right after this. Teleportation apps, oh my gosh. Did you guys like my rant on the kids and the stuff? I don't know. It's, as a parent, this is the kind of stuff I think about all the time. I mean, but when I was growing up, literally, it didn't matter. Like, we literally just did whatever. My parents didn't even care. You know what I mean? Like, we just did stuff. We played. We played outside all night, and then we came in and we played Nintendo till our thumbs hurt. And now it's like I got to think about, are my kids on screen time? How many minutes have they been on this thing today, or how many hours? Question from the chat room: do I like those AirPod Pros? For real. I will tell you, for headphones or earbuds that actually stick in my ears, which I hate, I actually like them a lot. But I will say, I did do 2 workouts with them last night and this morning, and they did fall out of my ears more than I thought they would. And so, when I was getting a little sweaty, they did slip out more, especially on the right side, like especially when I was moving like this and down. So, I mean, it could have been whatever. Who knows? The sealing of your ears, it is an annoying feeling. It's not the best feeling in the world, and that's why I've always been hesitant with these kind of things. I don't like the sealing of my ears, but with that said, I think that Apple did a good job of kind of working that part of the process. I think they did a good job of making it feel, when it's in noise cancellation, or I guess in transparent mode, they did a pretty good job of making it not feel like it's totally sealing your ear. When you're in noise cancellation, you definitely can tell a little bit more, but the transparent mode like uses the mics to like basically pipe in other stuff. So I straight up do not like the style of Apple earphones, period. Yeah, it's an acquired taste. It just sort of depends. But overall, I think I think they're pretty good. I mean, I think they're going to sell a lot of them mainly for the fact, like, for someone like me that, like, I don't have to pack something extra. And Google Pods, I will say, I think they're going to be better than the AirPods, to be honest. But they're just coming out so much later, and we have to wait like a whole nother 3 months, 6 months. I don't know how many. Apple or Google didn't really say, but Google, it's funny, they did the exact same thing. They put the little vents in them, but the Google ones, I was not able to. I tried them on, which they're very comfortable, but I was not able to listen to anything. They didn't have them activated. So I'll tell you, the most comfortable ones I've tried were actually the Microsoft ones. So I would definitely look at those, even though they look really weird. Check those out. Welcome back to the Tech Guy Radio Show. Joe is in Knoxville, Tennessee. Joe, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, having a good day?
I'm having a fantastic day. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. What's going on here is my parents had AT&T, UVerse, and DirecTV for their services here, and I got rid of that and switched over to Comcast, but I'm having a royal problem trying to get ports open through the router. For where I work at, I do camera systems, and I do a lot of commercial systems where they have the Comcast business class. Usually have no problems at all opening ports through the router. But here at the house, this new gateway system that they're using with XFi.
Yeah,
I can get into the router. I can go into the advanced settings, open ports up. It shows the ports there. When I do a port scan using can you see me or anything like that, it keeps saying connection refused. It's not forwarding the ports through. Of course, when you call Comcast support, might as well be in some other country because you can't understand their English they're trying to speak.
So what are you trying to do exactly with the are you trying to forward the port or open? What are you trying to do?
I need to open ports through because the DVR and cameras I use, I need certain ports open because this is commercial grade stuff. It's not, consumer grade DVR camera system.
Okay, so I'm looking up on the Xfinity website. It says set up port forwarding on your Xfinity gateway, and it says for XFi users, and then there's advanced users as well. So, and you've tried all those things, and it just doesn't work?
I went in, and I've actually turned off the security on their router. One of the ports I need to open up is 4550. Okay. And I can go into it, set it up. It accepts the settings in the router. And then when I go to one of the port scanning programs that you use, and I use these at work all the time.
Just doesn't see it.
I put in the port number that I want. It says connection refused.
Yeah.
Connection refused.
Well, I think
So I'm about ready to have to probably put their router in bridge mode and buy my own router, or buy my own router and do away with theirs. Of course, my phone also comes through that same router or same gateway. So I'm probably going to have to get one that'll let me do my phone and everything through the same box.
You mean like your voice over IP kind of thing?
Issues. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and what you just said, the security issue is why this is very regulated through Xfinity. So there are some reasons why people need to do this. I would say for 99.9% of people, nobody needs to do this. But what Xfinity is trying to do is they're trying to balance the security of your network with giving you some options to do what you need to do. And so with port forwarding, according to this article, some of the things people might use it for: video game systems, instant messaging, video conferencing, peer-to-peer file sharing, remote computer access, and voice over IP. But Xfinity is a very mainstream service. It's a mainstream product. It seems like they do allow some level of port forwarding and what you're talking about, but it doesn't. It's not a simple thing. So what you're talking about is it's complex. There's a lot of steps involved. But I think if you want to do what you're talking about and it's not working, I would do two things. Number one, I would make sure all the software is up to date on my router. There could be an update for the software. And if that doesn't work, I would try number two, make sure that what you're trying to do is an approved use of the router, because they may just not allow what you're trying to do. And number 3, I would, if you think it's allowed and you think that what you're trying to do should be acceptable, then I would maybe request a new router and go from there and see if that works. Those are the steps that I would take, Joe, and I know it's frustrating, but the reality is it's such a small amount of people that need to do what you're doing that I think probably Xfinity doesn't really put much effort into kind of helping you out with that, because it's just something that is not necessarily needed by a lot of people. All right, let's go to Jose in Modesto, California. You're on with Rich.
Hi, Rich.
Hi.
I have a quick question. I just wanted to know if it's good enough to randomize the network MAC address of a computer to maximize anonymity on the internet.
Maximize your anonymity on the internet to randomize the MAC address. So what the MAC address does is it identifies you and your device as a unique device to every other device out there. So when you log on to a website, it knows that your MAC address identifies your computer, identifies your phone, and they can understand a pattern of how many times you log in, who you are, where you are. What is the reason you want to protect your, who you are online?
Well, just to start off, also just wanted to get around some limits of some free internet, like hotels, public places, and also, when using the public Wi-Fi stuff.
Well, with public Wi-Fi, I don't necessarily think a randomized MAC address is as much of an issue as like a VPN if you're doing banking. And to be honest, if you're on a public Wi-Fi network in general, let's say at a hotel or something, I mean, these systems have gotten pretty good where most of the time you're safe anyway. I mean, it used to be back in the day, maybe you're at risk, something can infiltrate your phone. But even with the iPhone, that's probably not going to happen. So with respect to that, I guess my advice is, I don't necessarily think you need this, but if you're trying to do that and you're trying to get around certain limits, like let's say you go to like a website and it says, you've already read 5 articles this month, you can't read any more. They could be using your MAC address to figure that out. Sometimes they're just using other identifiers to kind of infer that. But I would say, if you want to stay anonymous to the maximum online, I would say, probably randomizing your MAC address. I did notice, by the way, that on Android 10, when I was setting up the Pixel, I noticed that it said use a random MAC address by default. So when you connect to a Wi-Fi network, it's automatically using a random MAC address. Now, I'm not sure if iOS 13 is doing that as well. It might, and it very well may, because Apple has really been doubling down on all of the, let's see, I'm going to just Google iOS 13 random MAC address. So I'm wondering if they're doing the same thing. Apple devices generate randomized MAC address for networks. So when you are using your iPhone or your Android, if you have Android 10, it is making a random identifier of your system when you log on to a Wi-Fi network. And it's funny, by the way, Jose, that you said the whole internet at hotels thing. I run into that limit all the time because I'm connecting like 4 or 5 devices when I get into my hotel room to their internet. Usually they only want to give you 1 or 2, no matter how much you're paying for your room. You are listening to The Tech Guy, Rich DeMuro, sitting in for Leo Laporte today. Give us a call, 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. If you have a tech question, you need a recommendation, give me a call. We'll get you on next. You are listening to The Tech Guy. I'm Rich DeMuro, sitting in for Leo Laporte today. You can find me on my website, richontech.tv. Having a blast answering your questions, talking about the latest things happening in the tech world, and of course, taking your calls. Phone lines open, 1-8888-ASK-LEO, 1-888-827-5536. Gloria is in North Hollywood. Gloria, you're on with Rich on The Tech Guy. What's going on?
Oh, hi, Rich.
How are things in North Hollywood?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah?
No more wind, at least so far.
Yeah, we were really. Did you have any smoke smell at your area over the past week?
Goodness.
Oh, that's good. It sort of depended where the wind was blowing, because at my place we had it, and then we didn't, and then we did.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's on your mind?
I have a Windows 7 that kind of went out last week. There was, I don't know whether I could describe it too well, but there was these little rectangles on the screen the first time I turned it on that I noticed something was wrong. They were jumping up and down the screen. Then it turned off. Ever since then, whenever I turn on the Windows 7, those little pinholes that turn into those 4 squares stops at the pinholes, and the computer says starting Windows, and it shuts down. So it's like those little things are going around, and it's starting to open up. It says starting Windows, then it shuts down.
Okay. Sounds like something. Did you get like some sort of software update recently?
No, I don't think so. I might have, but I don't. You know what? Now that I think of it, every time I got an update, it would come every time I turned on the computer, whereas before you'd get updates like 3 or 4 at a time. But now, at least when it was working, every time I turn on the computer, there would be a notation that says upgrade. And that would be one upgrade, and then I turn the computer off and restart it. And then the next day when I turn on the computer, it would be again, say just one update at a time. So that was kind of weird. But other than that, nothing else.
And this happened in the past week where you had all these little updates?
No. The updates has been since 6 months.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So that's been happening 6 months. But the computer shut down last week.
Okay. And it hasn't been working since. So no matter what, if you turn it off for a while, you just, you just turn it on, nothing happens except that weird hanging screen.
Well, it lets me log in, and then it says Windows is starting up.
Oh, it lets you log in?
Yes. And then it says Windows is Oh, no, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. But anyway, it says Windows. Okay, I turn on the computer. It says Windows is starting Windows, or Windows is starting up. Then those 2 little pin colors.
Okay. So it's basically not letting you into the normal system. You can't get in there. All right. I think it could be a couple things. So I think it sounds like either one of the software updates went bad, like something happened during the software update. It could be your hard drive it has failed, which that could be the case, but I'm not sure. I think this is something to do with a software update. And I think the way to test it is to start up your computer in something called safe mode. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard about it, but I've never done it because once I get in safe mode, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. It gets a little techie when you get into safe mode, right? But I think the main thing you want to do is when you boot your computer into safe mode, which generally you can press the F8 key up at the top. Right when you turn on your computer, just press the F8 key, okay?
Okay.
That should bring up the option for safe mode. And so once you do that, it should come up with a screen that says like advanced boot options or something similar to that, and check the one that says safe mode. And what safe mode does is it will start your computer with just the basics. And so it's not going to load anything that it doesn't need except just enough to to get by. So it's not going to load all the extra software you have, all the other stuff. It's just going to load like the absolute minimal just to let you get on there and see what happened.
Okay.
And so once you get into safe mode, you can kind of poke around. If it gets into if it boots up in that mode, then you know it's probably some sort of software issue.
Okay.
So the other thing you can do, Gloria, and this is kind of a thing that not many people are aware of, but you can actually bring your computer to the Microsoft store. So you live in North Hollywood. They've got a Microsoft store in, I believe it's like in Northridge area, Topanga, that mall. But if you go on the Microsoft Store website, and I'm talking, it has to be an official Microsoft store. There's one in West Century City, so if you want to bring it there. But if you bring it to one of those stores, they can run some diagnostics on this for free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you may have to put an appointment in online. But
even though it's not Windows 10, it's Windows 7?
Well, that's going to be tricky. So I got to see if Windows 7 is actually still supported. Let's see. Windows 7, they call it end of life. Oh, my gosh.
That was January something.
January 14th. That is it. And what does end of life mean? It doesn't mean your computer is going to stop working, which yours already has. It means that Windows or Microsoft is going to stop supporting it, which means there's going to be no more software updates, which means there could be security vulnerabilities that are unpatched on this system for the rest of it.
Okay, so I was thinking of getting a new computer anyway, a Windows 10.
Yeah.
My problem immediately right now is that I want to get on that Verizon Visible thing that you offered on your program, and I can't do that from the computer because the computer's not working. So how do I get in touch? This is off the subject of my problem with my computer. How do I get in touch with Verizon Visible to order the phone and get on that $20 a month plan if they're still offering it?
Well, it's a $40 a month plan. And what kind of phone do you have right now?
I don't. This is going to be my first phone.
Oh, you don't have any cell phone?
No.
Okay. Well, you need to get a SIM card from them, which requires you signing up. So you need to get a friend that has a web browser and get on there and go to Visible. And let me just make sure their website is actually visible.com. Yeah, visible.com.
Right. So what I wanted to say was that when I was at the office, I snuck and printed out the information on the Visible, Verizon Visible, and the phone that I want to get through Visible.
Yeah.
But I don't remember whether that little printout had a phone number, and that's the only thing.
No, they don't do phone numbers. That's the thing. It's all through the app, and that's the reason why they keep their prices down. And by the way, I would check. You got to get a friend with a web, or just go to a library anywhere and just go to the website visible.com. And you'll be able to order everything from there. I'd recommend for you maybe to go with the Pixel 3a if they offer it. If they offer the Pixel, or if you're going to go with iPhone, I'm not sure what you prefer. And the other thing is, Gloria, I would recommend you might not need a Windows computer. You may just need a Chromebook. And you might want to look into those because they're less expensive and there's no issues like this that you're talking about.
Oh, well, I'm kind of old-fashioned, and right now I just want a desktop.
Okay, I hear you.
And they say there won't be any more updates. Windows is not offering any more updates. If you get a 10, that's it. So I thought that would be not such a bad idea.
Okay. All right, well, let me know what you do, Gloria. I appreciate the call.
Don't bother with taking it to the Microsoft Store, the Windows 7, because they're not going to do anything, right?
You can try, but I have a feeling you can try. You can see what they say, but just make sure you don't get charged for whatever you're going to do. Just make sure that they can run a free test on it.
Great.
That's what I'd say.
Thank you so much.
All right, Gloria. Appreciate the call. Gloria in North Hollywood, thanks so much. Yeah, lots of, that's a tough one. So and Visible, by the way, what she was referring to is a service owned by Verizon, and this was actually the most popular story I did on KTLA last year. But Visible is a network that's owned by Verizon, but they offer service unlimited for $40 a month. And when I say unlimited, they're actually giving you the catch when it first launched was that it would limit your speeds, and right now they're not limiting your speeds, so they're actually giving you full Verizon speeds on their network. For $40 a month, unlimited. It's a great deal, but again, like I was telling Gloria, everything is done online. So you have to sign up from your phone or from a website. They will send you the SIM card, you pop it in your phone, and you sign up that way. I'm Rich DeMuro, in for Leo Laporte. We'll take more of your calls at 8888 Ask Leo. Get on the lines. We've got open lines after this. All right, let's see. Yeah, Windows is basically for people that work from home or in gaming. Very good, Gary. I like that. I like that. What's this Visible Party Pay? What's that? Visible Party Pay. I want to know what that is. Let's see what that is. Share the discount and nothing else. Team up with friends. Oh, that's cool. What's that? That's so interesting. Introducing a new way to get Visible for less. $40 a month. What? I don't even know what that means, but it doesn't say what it... Oh, here we go. Oh, with Party... Oh, that's so cool. That's so interesting. Wow. So if you sign up with a friend, your bills are separate, but that's so interesting. But you get, the first line, it would be $35 a line, 30, and then 25. So if you have two people, it'd be 35 each, and then three people would be 30 each, and four would be 25 each. That's really interesting. Wow. Mint Mobile is also very good. It runs on T-Mobile. So the reason I like Visible slightly more is because it is on Verizon. But the reality is that T-Mobile, my mom has Mint Mobile and she loves it. I mean, she loves it because It's just one. I think she paid for the whole year up front, and she can't believe that she gets service everywhere. She tells her friends, she's like, they've never even heard of it, and she just loves it. Yeah, you need QuickBooks and tax programs. Yeah, sounds like a referral program. It's kind of weird to have like your friends. I guess, what if they don't pay their bill and you're like, hey, pay your bill? The finger touch on the glass is not reactive. Let's see. I want to start making cell phone covers shaped like Pop-Tarts to fool the cops while driving and not get ticketed. I would not support that venture because I don't think you should be using your phone while you drive. It's so dangerous. And I don't want to, But I like the thought. You are listening to the Tech Guy Radio Show. We'll take probably one more of your calls at 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. Let's go to Tom in Burlington, Vermont. Tom, are you there? I used to, I grew up going to like Burlington.
Is that right? From where?
Well, we had a place in Lake George. You know where that is?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Beautiful.
It's very lucky to be here. My 5S iPhone became obsolete, and last April I bought an 8. Like it quite well, but I find, unlike any other iPhone I've ever had, a lot of times I'm pressing the glass. I want to save something or make it do something, and it doesn't respond. Most of the time it does, but all too many times it doesn't. Maybe I poke it 8 times or start over, and then that's the main thing. But also the new model, for me, I find it's oversensitive at other times. I just, the finger just touches, and it's activating stuff I don't want. I've been using these things for years, so that's a change. But
right.
Have you heard of this thing where you're trying to do a simple save, or you're poking the screen, and it's like you're poking a piece of wood?
No, I have not. But here's a couple questions for you. First off, do you have a screen protector on the screen? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, you don't. So you're just using the screen right out of the box the way it came from the factory.
That's right.
Okay.
I didn't.
Do you have a case on your phone?
I don't have. I don't have a case. What I do is I've been happy with. I get some Pebbly stair tread sticky stuff.
Oh, smart.
Store. I put it on the back. I cut it to size all around it as much as reasonable, and it's got a great grip. I can lay it down. It's not going to slide at an angle.
That is so. That is so funny.
$1.60.
I love that because I always joke how the best cases would be made of that. What's the name of that stuff? I didn't know what it was called.
Well, it comes in various width rolls and a couple of brands. I don't know the brand per se, but it's stair tread.
It's got that gritty sandpaper feel to it, right?
That's right.
Well, okay, I'll give you number one, the case that I have on my phone that I got that I kind of love, because I love a good grip on my phone as well, and I love the Spec. It's called Spec Presidio Grip, but that's an expensive case. It's like $50, but I've bought so many of them over the years because they just.
Oh, it was a good investment for you.
Oh, you'll never drop your phone with that case on it. But I did find something cheaper, and this one that I have on my new phone is only $12 on Amazon, and it's called the Smartish Kung Fu Grip. And it's a really thin case, and the sides almost have that finish that you're talking about with that little kind of that granular sandpaper. But anyway, so now, has this always been the case with your phone, or is it something new?
No, it's since I got it, I started noticing it.
Interesting.
And I talked to a kiosk guy. He said, "You're still under warranty." I've been putting off the agony of having to make another phone call, but they said,
if you're under warranty, I would bring this into the Apple Store and have them run some tests. It could be a problem with the digitizer, the touch sensitive area, the device or the part inside the phone that actually senses touch. And so it could be. Is this a refurbished phone or a original?
My understanding was it was brand new.
Okay, all right.
And actually, you remind me, I did go spend the winter in Tucson, and the Apple store is closed. There's none in Vermont, official. But I did have a session with one of the geniuses, and I was mentioning this to her, and she ran through some different sequences or something. She didn't think it was a problem, and I did not retain whatever she said about it. But this might have been another. Now it gives choices. If you're texting and other new icons came up, I was confused about. So I don't know if she spoke to that or the pressure thing. I don't know. It's
so you don't have an Apple store near you in Burlington, huh?
There's an independent, but they don't last.
What about Best Buy?
That's a thought.
Okay, because Best Buy is now an authorized Apple repair center, and this just happened. I don't know, a couple months ago, and so they now have the ability to analyze and also work on your phone with the same sort of methods at the Apple Store. So they just let me just see when that happened. That was recent, June 19th. So if you have a Best Buy nearby, you can take it there, and obviously yeah, it's a good start. And I think if they can run the same diagnostic tests that the Apple Store would, you might as well go for it. Now, if you checked in your phone, if you go to settings and then you go to general, it should say there's a place where it says warranty. If you go to settings, general, about, it should say when your warranty expires under there. So,
I'm still within. Yes,
okay.
I did that the other day.
So I would definitely get into one of these places and have them check it out, because it sounds like, I would say if you had a case on your phone or if you had some sort of screen protector that was causing these issues, but it sounds like if you're having this many issues with the touch, it's definitely something that might be going on internally on this phone. So
that's excellent. Can I ask you about my HP laser printer 1102W?
Sure, I'll see if I can help you with that.
I have a couple of them. It's been a great, fantastic workhorse. I tried in the last year or so. I think the drivers are no longer downloadable. Perfectly good machines can't use it. One local guy thought coming up in the future a close model number to this one sometimes will get a workable.
Why isn't the driver downloadable?
Because I think it's too old for them.
I'm looking. Is it you said it's the 1102W?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking online and it's still available. Are you what operating system?
Let's see.
Windows, Mac?
No, Mac.
Oh, Mac. Yeah, I'm looking at Mac and it says Mac printer driver right on their website.
It was some months ago. I think I tried it and then it wouldn't load or something. But I'll retry.
Yeah,
with your look into it.
Yeah, I would check that out. And the other thing I recommend for if you're listening and you've got one of these printers, a lot of people ask me how to print from their phone to their printer, and I always recommend the same thing. Just download the app from whatever manufacturer you have to your smartphone. So if you have an HP phone, just search on the App Store or Google Play and search for the HP print app. And what that will do is that app will find your printer, and then when you want to print something, instead of going through AirPrint or the built-in printing software on the Android system, which works half the time, doesn't work half the time, this will always work. And this is what I do. I've got a Brother printer, and it works just fine through the app. So again, look for those apps for any of the major brands. They all pretty much have them. And that is what I find to be the easiest way to print. Because it used to be, back in the day, Apple tried to do this thing called AirPrint, and they tried to get the printers on board to make it super easy, where you'd go and press print on your iPhone and it would automatically find your printer and you would print through that. Well, it kind of took off for some printers, kind of didn't for others. Not everyone adopted it. But if you just get the software from the App Store or from Google Play for your printer, it will print just fine. And it's actually pretty simple. And that's helped me, because most of the printers I would say a large majority have Wi-Fi built into them. And so you're kind of shortcutting or cutting out the middleman there by just printing through the app. Thanks for letting me fill in today. I'm Rich DeMuro. I'll talk to you real soon.
Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.